So now we're ready to create the user interface for our control object here. I've renamed this CTRL_edit so that it's going to be easier to access through scripting. And the technique that we're going to see is how to build our interface using scripting. And before I jump into the Max script itself, I want to show you, if I go into Max script help here, if we go into the scripting and customization, there's a command called cust attributes. So hopefully it's written correctly. So custom attributes. So we can start defining our own custom attribute, and that's the what I'm doing here is exactly what we're going to use for this technique. So if you're looking for more information, and if you want to find out more about the techniques that I'm going to use with custom attributes, this is where you can find it. So scripted custom attribute, adding custom attribute, that's what we're going to do here. So that's the command that I'm going to use here. So I'm just going to copy it. So it's going to be a good starting point. Copy this and minimize. Then I'm going to bring up the Max script environment. This is where we're going to create our script. I'm going to create a new script. And that script, I'm going to use that command, which is custom attributes add. We need to define, the first parameter is we need to define the object where we want to, or the modifier where we want to add this. So I'm going to say $, and the name of the object, which is control edit. I'm going to copy the name here. Oops. And paste here. Control edit. I want to put it in the modifiers. I'm going to say modifiers. The first modifier is going to be modifier number 1. And this is where I want to create that interface, or this is where I want to put my custom attribute. And the custom attributes, I need to create them. So I need to define them. And so what I'll do is I'll create a variable in which I'm going to store that. I'm going to call that PieAttributes. CA for custom attribute, and that variable here is what I'm going to define, and we need to define custom attributes here. So I'm going to create that variable. Right now it's empty, but this is the command that is going to add to the modifier the attributes that I will define. So this is what's going to have added there. So the custom attributes, I will say it's equal to attribute. This is how we create new attributes. I'm going to say attributes, and the you can create. What we're going to do is we're going to create a class, or that's probably not the right word, but we're going to create a bunch of custom attributes, and we're going to define them here, and you can create multiple versions of them. So right now this variable is equal to the attributes, so I'm going to call them PieAttributes colon, or actually I'm going to put it on not colon but parenthesis. And this is what we're going to create here. Right now, our attributes, the PieAttributes is a type of object that contains attributes, and we're creating an instance of it by creating this variable. So this variable here contains a custom attribute. I can say evaluate all, but right now what we did is we created the custom attribute. We added it to it here, but there's nothing in there. So there's nothing that's being added. So that's where we need to add a few things. So inside of attributes, we need to define parameters. Parameters. The parameters that will be part of the of this. I'm going to call it main, and I'm going to give it a rollout and params. And what I'm doing now is that I'm telling it the parameters are called main, so that's the name of the parameters, and they're defined in the rollout called params, and I'm going to do that a bit later. And that's kind of a generic format to do this. And here I'm going to put a rollout, and I'm going to call it params exactly at the top, and I could name it whatever I want, it's not a problem. And then I'm going to say here pie chart options, and this will be the shell of what we are going to create. The parameters is anything that you want to animate. So if you have colors, if you have a float, if you have anything, this is where you would add all of these variables, and we're going to see how to add that there. So right now I'm just creating the shell to put all of our definitions in. I'm just giving you the structure. Then the rollout params, and like I said, this is the one that I came up with, but the parameters could be whatever you want, name it how you want it. Params could be anything, as long as the rollout name here and the rollout here match, the two of them match, that's perfect, because the parameters needs to be connected to a rollout, and that's what we're doing here. So if I go here and say tool evaluate all, you see that we now have a new rollout, and we've added this here to the attribute holder. So I can add as many times as you want. So if I evaluate again, you'll see that those will be, it will constantly add those attributes. I don't want to delete them by scripting, so I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to create another attribute holder that is empty. But if I go here and say evaluate all, you see that it adds it to the attribute holder because we're adding it to modifier number 1, and that's what's happening. So we've defined the parameters, we've defined a rollout, and when you define a rollout, I'm just going to put a comment here. We are going to first define the UI, or the user interface of that rollout, and then we're going to define the methods, which are the methods like this. This is where we're going to define how the UI. So if I press a button, if I create a button, for example, this we need to define the method or the function that will get executed when the button is going to be created. So this is where it becomes powerful, because in the animation parameter editor, you can add floats, you can add spinners, you can add colors, you can add edit string, all of that, but you cannot add buttons, and you cannot execute very complex script directly from that interface. You need to create scripted controllers, and so you need to go all over the place in the interface. But by using scripted controllers like this, scripted custom attributes like this, you can control anything you want in 3ds Max by scripting, which allows you to create something that's very, very clean and very centralized, and you're going to be able to update a lot of things. So in the next video, what I'll do is I'll go and I'll build the parameters and the UI, and you'll see how all of this is built.